Here's how to do a fork upgrade. This bike has a rigid fork. We're going to put a suspension fork on it. First step is buying the correct fork. So let's take a look at the new fork. So what things should you consider when buying a mountain bike fork? Know how big your wheel is. If your wheel is 26 inches, buy a fork for 26. If it's 27.5, buy a 27.5. There's a tapered versus straight steering head. So if it's tapered, then it's going to be fatter here than it is here. So just make sure you know if yours is tapered or not. You can look at the actual bike and you can see if it's fatter down here than it is up there, then you know that it's tapered. What kind of brakes do you have? This one's got it set up for caliper brakes up at the top, and it also has hookups down here where my little finger is for disc brakes. So this particular fork will work with both, but some of them only have one or the other, so make sure that you get the right one. And then you're going to want to know what kind of axle you have on your wheel. So if you've got these kind of dropouts on your old fork, that's what you're going to want to get on the new fork. And if you've got a circle here with a solid pipe going through it, then you want to get that kind. Suspension travel. How much bounce do you want? This one's got 100 millimeters, which is about as low as most people go. And then there's 120, 140, and on up for downhillers. So this is basic cross-country fork. Rockshox Recon sells for about 200 bucks. It's air spraying, so you just have to put air in it to make it more bouncy. It's got compression, it's got rebound, and it's a really good basic fork. It's a little heavier than your racing fork, but it's good for general use. We're going to put it on my stealth street bike. Alright, first step, we're going to unhook the brake line here, and then there's a bolt here and then another bolt over here on this side. Take those off and then just keep all of this stuff in a safe place. Alright, if you have disc brakes, there's going to be a cable connector up towards the top of the fork, and then on the bottom of the fork there's going to be two bolts, and you just unbolt the caliper. Then I'm going to hang the bike from the ceiling and take off the front wheel just to give me a little more access. Hollywood here. Alright, the safest place to put these after you take them off is on your new fork. So there is a pin and there's a hole, so you just slide it on there and make sure that the pin goes in the hole, and then torque it down snug. Might want to put a little grease in there as well to keep it smooth. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and peel off all the Rockshox stickers before I put it on the bike. That'll just be easier. Make it less of a target. I leave this locked up in urban areas where somebody would want to steal it. No name brand, stealth mode, straight out of Walmart look is what I want, and that's perfect. Alright, take the cap off here. We're just going to let the handlebars dangle, and then take this one off of here, the pinch bolt. Slide her off. Let it dangle gently. Probably better if you set it on something. Then pull the fork out. You see that? Yeah, so you just pull the fork out. Take all this spacer nonsense off. Now if you're not going to replace the bearings, which I'm not, there's a piece on the fork here that needs to come off. The fork's a little bit wider on the bottom, and that's pressure fit on there, and it's real tricky to get off without breaking it. My local bike shop will take it off for $5, but if you don't have $5 or a local bike shop, you might be able to wedge a razor blade in there and kind of convince it to come off, but it's usually a really tight fit, especially if it's been on the bike for a while. Alright, in most cases you may notice that your old fork top tube is shorter than the new one. So what you can do is either put spacers in there, these round spacing washers, which I'm going to do, or you can measure it and cut it to be the same length or even shorter. So if you're worried that this is too long, just chop it. But use a hacksaw and make sure you cut it precisely straight, or it's going to cause you problems. Alright, and then we'll put that on the new fork. Now, the tool that you need to get is called a crown race removal tool to take that off the old fork. I'll put a picture of it in here for you. And then once that's on there, I'm going to kind of put it on the bike and use the weight of the bike to push it down evenly. Alright, let's put this baby in. So I've got the wheel in the fork just to make it easier. And before you do this, you might want to put some grease in the bearings, depending on what kind of bearings you have and if they seem dry. Here's a picture of the proper tool that you would use to seat that bearing if you were going to do it the right way, rather than pound it down with your bike while you ride. And then up on the top, if there was anything on the top, mine had a little rubber ring that I put down on here, and assemble everything else on top of it. And at this point, you're going to find out if it's too tall or too short, and if you really need to cut down your post or not. You can see in my case, it's going to be the post is a little bit longer, so I'm just going to throw some spacers in here. And spacers look like this. They're in various different widths depending on how much you need. You can even get a big fat one like this if you're going to make it super tall. Now the bolt that goes into the top of the fork is going to screw into this. So you need to press this baby down into the top of the fork just far enough so that you can get all your threads into it. So there's probably a more elegant way to do it, but I've just pounded it in there with a rubber mallet. Now this part's a little tricky to do without a spacer. So to press this down, I put some spacers on the top, and then I'm just going to torque them down. All right, I'm going to hook this back up. The brakes. Now this is interesting because the brakes all of a sudden are a lot higher up than they were on the old fork. So that's where you got to figure out if you're going to need new cables. I think I can just reroute this cable. Get rid of my Barbie basket here and run it down here. Yeah, that'll work. And then just pinch it in there and we're good. All right, to get it seated at the bottom, I'm just put the handlebars on it and I'm going to take it for a ride, and I think it'll sink down. I've seen that happen on other bikes. All right, out on my test track, it's running great, running smooth, feeling good, so great success. Makes a big difference. And hold on a second. Hey, don't do it! Run away! You can get away! There's still time! Sorry, had to do a little intervention there, doing my part to help. 10 years from now, that guy's going to wake up in the middle of the night and say, the guy on the bike was right. So anyway, having a nice day. Enjoy my new fork.